Hello, you're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetti.
So the Prime Minister is returning to the UK after meeting with President Trump in Washington, D.C. The two men held talks on a range of issues, including the war in Ukraine and economic ties between the US and the UK.
Sir Keir Starmer also presented Mr Trump with a letter from King Charles inviting him to an unprecedented second state visit to the UK. Both leaders spoke about the importance of close relations between the two nations.
In a moment of real danger around the world, this relationship matters more than ever. We remain each other's first partner in defence, ready to come to the other's aid, to counter threats wherever and whenever they may arise.
I think I can say this because we've known each other now really for a little while. This is not our first meeting, as you know. He loves his country, and so do I. That's our common theme. He loves his country, and I love our country. And we also have two countries that have gotten along for the longest period of time, right? Yeah. Number one ally on each side.
So let's talk to the pollster and political consultant Frank Luntz now. Morning to you, Frank. We'll talk about some of the mood music and the language in a moment. Can I ask you, if you could give me a sentence, how would you sort of describe what tangibly the Prime Minister came away with from the meeting with the President?
If the public were to know and see the press conference and see the engagement, they would see a president and prime minister who not only got along, but seemed to understand each other. The prime minister did not get everything he was looking for, but he got a lot. And in a sentence, he saved the UK from a tariff war with the US, but he didn't quite secure the support for a tougher position on Ukraine that he wanted. They will be coming home to a positive and significant success, but not an entirely everything that they sought to get in this conversation.
Frank, you will know very well, and your expertise is to a large degree in language, in politics. Often we've been told with President Trump, don't listen too carefully to the words, because the words can change from one moment to the next. It's about what he does. So how do we calibrate what we witnessed yesterday with what will happen?
That's why it's always dangerous to summarize a meeting with the president hours, literally hours afterward, and it often takes days for everything to settle. But make no mistake, holding sessions with this president can be difficult for a world leader. And in fact, there have been numerous occasions with other European leaders where it hasn't gone as well as this appears to. Now, make no mistake, there's a lot of preparation that went into this conversation. And we have to see, as you suggest, the tangible impact of that conversation. But I believe that the special relationship, and I was waiting for Trump to use that phrase, because in the end, that tells you a lot about how the two leaders see each other and see this engagement. But while they weren't screaming special relationship, the words that both of them used to describe the essence of how each nation is important to the other, that was expressed, that was articulated, and I do give the Prime Minister tremendous credit for beginning the session by extending an invitation by King Charles to come visit the UK, which Trump quickly accepted. I realize that he's not everyone's cup of tea in the UK, but the fact that that kind of familiarity and that kind of relationship did happen is a very smart strategy, and it could yield continuous results over the weeks and months to follow.
So, Frank, there are a number of issues that came up during their chat and in the press conference afterwards, of course, including Ukraine, hugely important issue at the moment. And, everyone can see there are differences between how Sir Keir Starmer and the President look at things. This has been witnessed in some of the things they've said. That tightrope in a public forum like that with questions getting asked could be tricky. So how do you think that was navigated, and what do we learn?
Well, we know that the Prime Minister offered to put boots on the ground and planes in the air, and neither offer was accepted by the President. And his articulation of the threat from Russia, the Prime Minister's perceived threat from Russia, was not shared by the President. So no, they did not move that part of the discussion forward from the UK's perspective. But the fact that he was able to stand up and say to the president, this is how Europe sees it, and this is how the UK sees it, at a time when that's been under question, that relationship between the UK and the US since Brexit and since Trump's election, it's clear that he was able to disagree with the president and not be punished for it, and that doesn't happen that often. I give Starmer very high marks for being a diplomat and for being able to express the views of the UK population and even being willing to challenge the president and come out of it stronger at the end of the meeting.
Frank, we appreciate your thoughts this morning. That's Frank Luntz, US pollster, talking to us from Washington. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
6:34 is the time. Mike's taking a look at the sport. Mike.